From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, diving into another brand new day here on the program. Glad to have you on board, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, giving you all the information you need to take on the day. Three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, much to the shock and dismay of many, the federal government is once again footing the bill for abortions, which means taxpayers on the hook for that expense. How do you like that? Number two, James Carville, you know him. Like so many other old-school Democrats, says his party is in real trouble if they cling to the woke DEI agenda. In fact, it will lead to its destruction, he says. And number three, President Trump issued a stark warning to whatever remains of the regime in Tehran, saying it, in fact, had until 8 o'clock last night to open the Strait of Hormuz before being obliterated forever, even alluding to nuclear weapons. The problem is nobody's quite sure when the president is bluffing and when he's deadly serious. That's incredibly important for those on the receiving end of the message. Here's what we know this morning. A 2-week double-sided ceasefire is in place. That's what we learned yesterday before the 8 o'clock deadline. Iran put forth a 10-point peace plan that Donald Trump apparently has said is a workable basis to negotiate from. So there's a 2-week ceasefire in place. As a result, prices of oil have plummeted. $95 this morning. It was $115 at this time yesterday morning. Here's the problem with the 10-point plan put forth by Iran. I'll give you a couple of the points. Guarantee that Iran will not be attacked again, permanent end of the war, an end to Israeli military strikes in Lebanon, which has nothing to do with this. Iran would reopen the Strait of Hormuz, Iran to provide rules for safe passage. They get $2 million per ship going through. Here's the problem. In no place in this document, in this proposal, does Iran say, we will get rid of nuclear weapons and our nuclear material. That's a non-starter from where we are. So we're going to keep an eye on this. But right now, we're in a 2-week ceasefire. Ceasefires are fragile. We'll wait for more details coming from the White House and Tehran today. We're not even sure, I'm not sure that is, who we're even negotiating with. But we'll keep a close eye on all of those developments and let you know what happens. And while most TV channels are understandably dominated by the war going on in the Middle East, there's another battle being waged here in the U.S., one that should be a lot less controversial. A war being waged right here. The battle for our health is real. The battle against contaminants in our food and water, the battle for real food, thanks to the Make America Healthy Again movement led by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his colleagues. It is important. It's empowered by President Trump, and it's happening. And here's the latest. The EPA and Health and Human Services are partnering together to wage war on microplastics and pharmaceuticals that are in our drinking water. Think about that. You go to get a glass of water, you get microplastics in somebody else's prescription. And if you didn't know, city water supplies are loaded with this stuff. Here's EPA Director Lee Zeldin with an announcement. Listen.
Taking major steps in today's announcement to make America healthy again. I'm pleased to announce a landmark set of actions by EPA to safeguard the nation's drinking water from microplastics, pharmaceuticals, forever chemicals, and dozens of other contaminants. At the heart of these actions is our draft 6th contaminant candidate list, known as CCL6, which we are releasing today for public comment. CCL6 is a critical tool under the Safe Drinking Water Act that drives research, funding, and future regulation of emerging threats in public water systems. The draft CCL6 includes 4 contaminant groups: microplastics, pharmaceuticals, PFAS, and disinfection byproducts. It also covers 75 chemicals and 9 microbes that may be found in drinking water. And now, for the first time in the program's history, EPA is designating both microplastics and pharmaceuticals as priority contaminant groups.
Frightening, isn't it? Microplastics, pharmaceuticals, other contaminants, other chemicals, PFAS, of course, those are forever chemicals. Microplastics first identified in the bellies of sea animals back in the 60s and 70s, but now they're ubiquitous. They're everywhere, including in the womb, affecting unborn children, affecting all of us. According to RFK Jr., here he is.
And in a study of 62 placentas, every single sample contained microplastics, evidence that exposure begins before birth. This is not a rare exposure. This is baseline. We are not dealing with a distant or theoretical risk. We are dealing with a measurable and growing presence inside the human body. And the signal is getting stronger. Animal studies show that microplastic exposure can drive inflammation, cardiovascular damage, impaired cognition, and tumor growth. Human data raises parallel concerns. Diseased tissue consistently shows higher concentrations of microplastics than when compared to healthy tissue. In one major clinical study, patients with microplastics detected in arterial plaque faced a 4.5-fold higher risk of heart attack, stroke, or death in less than 3 years.
Yeah. Not a lot of good outcomes. These kids exposed to this stuff. Let's say you have got a well at home, but they jump on the school bus and go to a public school, therefore drink public water. These kids are growing up without any chance to be free from microplastics. So what are we going to do about it? Answer cannot be to throw our hands in the air and say, well, it's just the way it is, which is why it's so important that actual resources are being used to start treating this like the problem, the health crisis that it is. American innovation has tackled many problems that posed a threat to our people. Asbestos, radium, lead poisoning, just to name a few. Toxins that were addressed and solutions delivered. It's always an uphill fight for our safety, but that's why I'm so excited that we have an administration focused on this. Dr. Mark Siegel says we should treat microplastics the same way we once treated lead poisoning. Here's what he said.
We have to actually first figure out which of the microplastics are most dangerous. Although Dr. Tresand from NYU, who I know well, was on that panel at the EPA yesterday, and he pointed out, look, what about lead? With lead in the 70s, we knew it was dangerous. Even before we proved it was dangerous, we worked at getting rid of the exposure. That's what we've got to do. And Kennedy is saying, let's get the companies that are making this stuff involved with preventing it getting into our systems in the first place. The second thing we have to do is figure out what parts of the body are most at risk. And almost every top research cardiologist I talk to, Aisha, is worried about the impact of the heart. And then we're seeing signs that it leads to neurodegenerative diseases in the brain, like Parkinson's disease. These are key areas of concern.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that's key areas of concern. The evidence for microplastics harming us becoming more and more overwhelming by the day. The war is important. It is. And we talk about that. But the war on your body is every bit as important, isn't it? Of course it is. We'll talk more about this and the war on microplastics and all this garbage and contamination in your environment. When we come back, it is The Steve Gruber Show. You look at this contamination in your environment, right? You can't overlook it. You can't overstate it. And the evidence of microplastics harming us is becoming more overwhelming by the day, and the more public awareness that there is for it, the better. Same with PFAS, PFOAs. You find these contaminants in the environment, you find causational impact, disease, cancer. RFK Jr.'s Health and Human Services is taking on dozens of issues that should be no-brainer wins for the American public, but because he's under the leadership of Donald Trump, he faces backlash for any kind of decision he makes, which just shows you how deranged his critics really are. His wife, Cheryl Hines, a liberal, by the way, has seen the same. Here's what she says.
It's really ridiculous for anyone to fight against wanting to remove petroleum-based dyes in food or wanting to remove arsenic in baby formula. So I'm fortunate that way because Bobby is really doing the work that shouldn't be controversial. We're talking about people's health. So either you're happy that the U.S. is now paying lower pharmaceutical drug prices, or you're just angry about politics and you're never going to say you're happy about that. And
yes, it is utterly ridiculous. There's nothing controversial about putting the health of Americans first, nothing at all. It's what people on both sides of the aisle always argue for. We want our health made a higher priority than the profit margins of hospitals and insurance companies and benefit managers and all those people. It's hard to believe that either of those institutions have our best interests in mind, especially when you consider the kinds of foods they feed their patients, especially those with diabetes. RFK Jr. looking into hospital food too, thank God. Remember the last time you were at the hospital cafeteria? Well, listen to this.
And Dr. Oz was telling me before we came in here of a diabetic woman who showed up at the hospital and was immediately offered all of these, a Jell-O and a a Coca-Cola and a number of other foods that all contain sugar that are all going to injure their metabolic system and aggravate their diabetes. We have the best medical technology in the world. We have the best doctors. We have the finest hospitals in the world. But for some reason, for many years, they haven't recognized the most important tool of medicine today is good food. And we have a metabolic disease crisis now in this country that's costing us trillions of dollars a year.
Yeah. Unbelievable. The hospital that makes you more sick and then rakes in the profits for treating the sick people they're helping to create. It's a terrible system. Here's the next front in this fight. The Department of Health and Human Services rolling out a powerful new consumer tool that finally brings transparency to the most confusing part of American medicine, hospital pricing. What's the price? What does it cost for me to do X, Y, or Z? Here's more from RFK.
I believe that I was born an addict, that I'm hardwired to drink and drug myself to death. And in order to overcome that kind of biological drive, you need a spiritual fire.
Yes.
And one of the things...
All right, no more surprise bills, no more guessing games. Family can shop for care the same way they shop for cars, with clear side-by-side numbers and a little faith. It's another common-sense Maha victory that puts patients, not middlemen, back in control. The era of health care as a black box profit center, thankfully, is ending. And Americans are about to see exactly how much money that change is going to save them. This is what real leadership delivers. From microplastics in the womb to surprise hospital bills of bankrupt families, the Maha revolution is finally putting patients before profits. At least we're heading in that direction. With RFK Jr. and President Trump in charge, America is choosing health, transparency, and common sense over, well, corporate greed, frankly. The best days for American families, well, they're just beginning. Just beginning. All right, crude oil down again today. I just looked at the numbers, $95. That's down $20 since yesterday. Gas prices still up, of course. that's going to soften quickly. Did you know that American homeowners nationwide have over $32 trillion in equity, and cyber criminals are targeting it with a growing scam? It's what the FBI calls house stealing. House alarms, doorbell cameras, deadbolts won't work against these thieves because they're not after your stuff, they're after your equity. If your title isn't being monitored, scammers can transfer the title of your home into their name using a one-page document they file at the county and then take out loans against it or even sell it behind your back. The scariest part? You won't find out until collection or even foreclosure notices are hitting your mailbox. But by then, the damage has been done. You've already been injured. The best way to protect your equity is with triple lock protection from our friends at Home Title Lock. Triple lock protection, 24/7 monitoring, alerts of any changes, and God forbid, if the worst happens, restoration services at no out-of-pocket cost to you. This is important. You can check on your home's title today. Make sure you're not a victim. Make sure everything is in order the way it should be. Use the promo code Gruber at HometitleLock.com to make sure your title is still in your name. You'll also get a free title history report plus a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection, 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts of any changes, and if fraud should happen, they'll spend $1 million to fix it. Go to HometitleLock.com right now. Use the promo code Gruber. HometitleLock.com, promo code Gruber, and make sure you're being looked after. All right, if you missed the top of the program, we have a new 2-week ceasefire in place. Ceasefires are fragile. It was agreed to before the 8 o'clock deadline last night when Donald Trump said he was going to send Iran back to the Stone Age or whatever however he phrased that. But a ceasefire is in place. As a result, oil prices have plummeted this morning. Oil is down to $95 a barrel from $115 yesterday to below 95 now, $94.60. Oil coming down, almost 20% already today. Some financial relief on the horizon. I'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, big problems today for Eric Swalwell. 27 days away now from the jungle primary in California for governor. Eric Swalwell has been running in third place behind a pair of Republicans, okay? So that part we understand. But here's the problem. In California, the two top vote getters in the jungle primary move on to the general election. Right now, that's two Republicans. Democrats are freaking out. Swalwell was in third place, closing the gap in the best position of any Democrat to potentially end up in the top two slots. Well, allegations of sexual impropriety and much more from Cheyenne Hunt have sent that train off the rails. Swalwell campaign rejects outrageous allegations of sexual misconduct as Democratic activists issue viral warning. The campaign broke its silence on allegations circulated by Hunt, a former Capitol Hill staffer and political media personality, fiercely denying any sexual misconduct toward former staffers or interns, including her. She said Swalwell targeted her at one point. This false, outrageous rumor being spread 27 days before an election begins by flailing opponents who have already sadly teamed up with MAGA conspiracy theorists. See, they're trying to get away from it. The fact of the matter is there's a long apparent history here of Swalwell hiring staff. The first thing he does is make them sign a non-disclosure agreement. Then he hits on the interns and everybody else. Cheyenne says she was 19 when he started hitting on me and sliding into my DMs. Not good news for Swalwell's campaign. That's going to leave a mark. Did you know that over 90% of Americans don't get enough essential vitamins and minerals from food alone? And some research suggests natural vitamins may be superior to synthetic ones. In fact, I believe that. Longevity is an excellent source of over 20 natural vitamins and minerals from real food, not synthetic. Longevity is a complete nutritional support that gives you everything you need to age well. LongevityWellness.co. Go check it out today. Enter the promo code Gruber at checkout for a special discount. LongevityWellness.co. It's a nutritional shake. Everything you need. If you're working out, good. If you're older and want to make sure you maintain your weight, good. If you're on a weight loss program and you don't want to lose bone and muscle, good. LongevityWellness.co. Promo code Gruber. You're going to save money today. I'll be right back. All right, back to it now as we jump back into the conversation. Glad to have you here. My next guest is Ambassador Francis Rooney, former ambassador to the Holy See, that, of course, being the Vatican. He's been on this program a number of times throughout the years. Mr. Ambassador, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me on.
Always good to see you. You were appointed by George W. Bush then, but I want to talk to you today about what's going on in the Middle East. We have a 2-week ceasefire put in place after President Trump had threatened to basically annihilate Iran if they did not come to the table, open the Strait of Hormuz. They came to the table with a 10-point plan, but something's noticeably missing from that plan. First of all, what is your assessment of the current situation in the Middle East?
Well, I think the president bit off a lot. Iran's a very complex country. I was over there before the revolution doing some work, and they have a very strange mix of pride, culture, and their Islamic religion, which makes them very volatile. And I think we're seeing that right now in the response that's been generated by our actions. I mean, the people are, most of the people, younger people, have disagreement with the theocracy of the Ayatollahs. And my personal belief is if we would let them continue to develop their revolution, we would be able to have regime change without a war.
Yeah, but how many years would that take?
Obama blew it.
In fairness, Mr. Ambassador, how many years would that take from an unarmed populace? We saw the Iranians kill 30 to 40,000 of their own people just this year. We see them hanging wrestlers, world-accomplished people from cranes outside their prisons and shooting others they don't like. It's a regular occurrence, so go on.
Well, we'd have to help him, no doubt about it. We had the opportunity under Obama, and he blew it.
Well, clearly.
To solve this whole problem. Maybe military action is the only long-term answer, but it's going to be complicated to accomplish it in Iran.
Well, it is complicated. 92 million people, 31 provinces. The IRGC decentralized, I think, in 2009, so you don't even have a centralization of the military. It's got a headquarters in each of the 31 provinces, making it more difficult. The 10-point plan put forth by the Iranians last night would open up the Strait of Hormuz, would allow the Iranians to charge $2 million per vessel going through, so on and so forth. It does not address nuclear weapons. Donald Trump says that's enough to start a conversation and negotiation. I don't know who we're negotiating with, Mr. Ambassador. I'm not sure that's exactly clear at this point. Your thoughts?
I'm not sure we know either. I mean, that's the problem with Iran. They're so opaque. Who's running things over there now that we took out the head guy? They got a new head guy, but who knows if he's really running it or not. It's kind of like Venezuela. Theoretically, we have the Delcy running Venezuela, but really it's Diosdado Cabello running Venezuela. So who knows?
Well, Venezuela seems to have been, Venezuela's calm. Well, I'll take them off my top 5 concern list for a while now. But I am concerned about Iran because it is complicated. I don't know how you secure the nuclear material without going in directly. These are real questions that have to be answered because there's 400 kilograms, give or take, of highly enriched uranium, right, that would make nuclear weapons. I think we all agree, Mr. Ambassador, we don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. They've shown a propensity to attack their neighbors in this conflict. They'd do it again if they felt that they had the ability to get away with it. So do we agree on that? No nuclear weapons for Iran?
It would be preferable to figure out a way to go in and get the uranium and shut them down. No doubt about it. They are volatile people. They've shown aggression even against their Sunni Arab neighbors, which was unusual to me. What country would have done that? Purposefully alienate all your neighbors 60 miles away.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I want to ask you about something else here, because obviously, as an ambassador, you pay close attention to world order, but with countries like the UK, Germany, France, Spain, telling America, we're not going to be involved in what you're doing with Iran, we're not going to help. And I can't help but wonder, the same as the president does, what value is NATO today? He posed a question here a number of weeks ago that has stuck in my head. If NATO calls and implements Article 5, we run to them. If we call for Article 5, who comes to save us? Because I'm not sure they show up.
Well, but NATO's not designed to deal with aggressions outside of NATO, outside of the EU. You know, the treaty says if a member country is attacked, the other members will support them. It's not designed to deal with things like Iran or Africa or Asia.
Is Ukraine a NATO country? No.
Not yet.
No,
Fortunately.
they're not. And the fact of the matter is George W. Bush promised the Russians we would not push east. And all we've done ever since is push east. Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan and every president leading up to that, the Warsaw Pact countries, they were promised in 1991 that if we ended the division of Germany, we would not march east. All we have done to march east with Estonia and Lithuania and every place else on the Russian border, right?
Couldn't agree with you more. The expansion of NATO has changed the whole game, and it's put NATO in a position that may be untenable. You know, the original core of Europe has nothing to do with the expansion that you just mentioned.
Right, and here's the other problem with NATO. England can't defend itself. Germany cannot defend itself. The only credible military on the continent is France, maybe. So if they think, because Mark Rutte is going to be in the White House today, I believe, the Secretary General of NATO is going to be in Washington today. And he has told these countries quite clearly, if you think you can survive an attack without America, you're kidding yourselves.
Right.
So again, what value, and this is a serious question that's being debated, what value is NATO today in 2026 if the only thing that America gets out of it is the bill? What good is it? Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think that the idea of a mutual support organization for Europe is still valid. I mean, it's just that NATO's expanded so far that we're in places like Poland and as you say, the Ukraine that we really can't say are NATO.
Right.
And we're stretching our doctrine. I mean, we actually, like you say, we actually told Putin or told Russia we wouldn't go east, and we did.
Continuously.
Yeah.
Yeah, continuously. I mean,
Yeah, so,
if America's in trouble, I don't think the Kingdom of Denmark's going to do us much good. I don't think England's going to do us any good. They've neglected their military for decades. I mean, NATO has neglected its responsibilities to its partners, specifically us. So has Canada. They've all neglected their responsibilities. Anyhow, last word to you.
During the Afghan war, they had the forces were called ISAF, Integrated Service Forces in Afghanistan, but we used to joke that it was called Inside of Americans Fighting.
Exactly. Big Brother's here. There's a war in Ukraine. Let's get some javelins from America, some pallets of cash. We'll move it in. But when America needs to do something, we'll just close our air bases. That does stick with me, not particularly well. I can see why it irritates the president. Mr. Ambassador, always a good conversation. Appreciate your insights, as always. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Greatly appreciated. All right. Global alliances, what do you think? Where are we with these global alliances? Just walk away, modify them, do something different? Worth a conversation, don't you think? I'll take a break and be right back. It's Wednesday on The Steve Gruber Show. Welcome back to the program. Okay, we've heard some anecdotal information coming out about the relationship between ivermectin and cancer. And can cancer be affected by the same sorts of, reactions that take out parasites, antiparasitics targeting cancer? Well, with me is Dr. Kelly Victory, the Chief of Disaster and Emergency Medicine at the Wellness Company, to discuss a brand new study. Doctor, welcome to the program.
Thanks very much for having me, Steve.
So my understanding is the way that cancer feeds itself and grows is very simple to the way parasites, similar in the ways that parasites feed and multiply, and they've found an association here. Tell us about this study. Am I on the right track here?
Absolutely. To be clear, this study is an observational study, specifically a retrospective observational study. So by definition, it has many limitations. No one is claiming that this is definitive proof that ivermectin and mebendazole, two antiparasitics, are necessarily effective in treating cancer. But what we are saying is that the data we found were very, very compelling. You made the point, and you are correct, that these drugs are antiparasitics. Ivermectin and mebendazole were developed to treat parasites. The fact that they actually appear to have some profound effect on cancer cells does not mean that cancer is also a parasite, but as you said, that the way that the cells replicate, the way that they grow, is similar in some ways to the way that parasites stay alive, and therefore the drugs that target parasites actually may, and it appears that they do, target cancer cells and either halt their growth or actually eliminate them. And that's what we found in this study.
Yeah, it's interesting because during COVID, as you know, ivermectin was demonized. It was called a horse dewormer and all these completely false things. Ivermectin's been around for decades. It's been used for parasites, specifically river blindness parasites, for decades. It's one of the most widely used and safest drugs available today. And another thing is off-label use of medications happens every day. They'll find an efficacy for a drug and use it off-label, if you will, which is not specifically what it was created for. This happens every day, doesn't it?
A very important point. This is a cornerstone of medicine, Steve. Over 30% of all medications prescribed are prescribed for something for which that drug was not originally designed or developed. So the idea of repurposed drugs has been going on for many, many decades, and almost everyone's medicine cabinet has a medication like that, a prescription medication that was originally designed for hypertension that's now used for migraines, something that was used as an anti-cancer drug that we find out now treats, psoriasis or eczema, and on and on. There are hundreds of examples. So again, the idea that these antiparasitics may in fact be effective against cancer isn't surprising. This study that we did, again, was observational. We looked at about 200 patients who were taking the combination of ivermectin and mebendazole to treat a known cancer, many different types of cancer, breast, prostate, colon, lung, and others. And interestingly, and very compellingly, what we found was that 84% of patients reported a positive outcome after the months of taking this drug combination. 48% of them had either complete regression or no evidence of disease at all, or regression of their cancer, and another 36% had no progression, meaning stability was found. Only 15.5% had their cancer progress. Now, again, this doesn't prove efficacy. What it is compelling. When you have a hunch,
it's compelling.
When you have a hunch as a scientist or a hypothesis, and then you look at data and that data supports your hunch or your hypothesis, at a minimum, it compels you to do further studies, a more well-controlled study, and to look more deeply at what might be going on.
Well, and here's the thing about ivermectin and mebendazole that were strikes against them, if you will, and I only mean this from a financial standpoint. Big Pharma, they don't care about these things because it's not making them a pile of money. All right, so that's thing one. So it brings me to this question. Could ivermectin and mebendazole be used prophylactically? Could it be just something you put in with your daily vitamins? I mean, I don't know. Is that the next series of studies? I'd like to know if it could be used as a block against ever getting cancer in the first place.
Boy, that's certainly a very, very interesting question, and one we'd like to have the answer to, Steve, because, as you said, ivermectin has an incredibly good safety profile. It's been FDA approved for use in humans for many, many decades. It's taken by hundreds of millions of people every year around the globe for everything from parasitic disease to other indications. Certainly was used heavily during COVID. So if something that safe, that inexpensive could in fact be prophylactic to cancer, that's something that could be a game changer. We don't have the answer to that question as yet. But again, when you look at an observational study like the one we did with such overwhelmingly positive results, it makes you really say maybe we are onto something, and that all of these anecdotes we've been hearing now for some years actually could in fact be based in good hard science.
Well, and we certainly hope so. More studies to come. Absolutely. Dr. Kelly Victory here from the Wellness Company. Doctor, always appreciate it. Great explanation. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
And I'd just like to tell you, if you are watching the program today, this is where the Wellness Company can come in. The Wellness Company doctors have put together the gold standard for ivermectin and mebendazole, 100% American made. It's available to RAV viewers at an incredibly affordable price point. So no, Big Pharma's greed and no to Big Pharma's poison. Say yes to a company that you can trust. It's available to Gruber folks right now. If you'd like to find out more, go to twc.health/Gruber, twc.health/Gruber today, and order twc.health/Gruber. You can find out more right now. Look, I want to know more. You should as well. This is Steve Gruber Show. All right. Here's something, and I keep watching these metrics, and this is why I think that the whole oil gas thing, I think it's rigged. All right, you can think whatever you want, and people can say, well, Gruber, you don't understand the global commodities. Here's what I understand. I understand profiteering. I understand using fear to drive profit. I understand that, and I think that's what we're seeing. Look, the price of a barrel of oil today plummeted $20 since yesterday, right? It's at 95. Actually, it's under $95 now. It's at 94.34. It's gone down 50 cents again in the last 5 minutes. It's going to be under $94 here in a few minutes, right? And yet somehow yesterday, the price of gasoline goes up yet again. So that's another record high. Oil was $139 a barrel, almost at $140 when Joe Biden was president, right? And gas, the national average went to $5.01. Well, the national average today is on its way to being there, and yet there's no mathematical support for it. $4.17, your national average today, right? And here's why I say that. Here's another piece of supporting evidence. U.S. crude oil inventories continue to grow as global supply shock keeps prices up. The week ending April the 3rd, let's see here. Well, let me back up. April the 3rd, 3.719 million more barrels put into inventory. The following week, 10.2 million barrels put into inventory. That's 14 million barrels put into our excess inventory in the last 2 weeks. 14 million barrels. We're not depleting our supply. We're putting oil in the cupboard for future reference. And yet somehow the price of oil continues to go up and you pay more at the pump? Come on now. We're getting ripped off. And again, here's the red phone, Mr. President. Here it is. Here's the red phone. Dear oil companies, hello, stop screwing America. Use the red phone, Mr. President. Please. American consumers are getting the shaft here. We'll continue with more in a moment. Hello? Hello? Nobody there again.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, here we go, rocking into another big hour here, defending you from all the idiocy out there, trying to insulate and inoculate you against all that dumb stuff. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, remember how they said we won't send police, we'll just send in mental health workers, everything will be better? Yeah, massive failure, another police officer shot. Number two, rare earth elements are not rare, as you know, but what is rare is refining them so they can be used in all the high-tech gadgets we all use all the time, plus defense and data centers. I've got a solution coming up. And number three, so the deadline for Iran to basically surrender and give up the Strait of Hormuz came and went. But it came with a deal from Iran, a 10-point plan that does not include, I might add, getting rid of their nuclear materials. But Donald Trump said, look, here we are. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a 2-week pause in violence. As a result, oil prices are way down. The futures on the Dow up 1,200 points. I'm just going to bring Ivy in right now and say, hey, look, here's where we are. I was on the air live last night, Ivy, as you know. Good morning.
Good morning.
Doing a special for Real America's Voice because nobody knew what was going to happen at 8 o'clock. But before we got to 8 o'clock, the Iranians come out with a 10-point plan that they'll control the Strait of Hormuz. Mm-hmm. They'll get $2 million a ship, which is what they got before, to escort ships or whatever. I don't know what they're escorting them with. Pleasure boats, I guess. They don't have a Navy left. But anyhow, 2 weeks to discuss. What's not in the plan is anything dealing with nuclear material. Well, that's obviously a non-starter, but it gives Donald Trump something to talk about. And oil now down below, almost down to $94 a barrel. The futures on the Dow plus almost 1,300 points. It's going to open on a rocket sled. So good for the economy here at home. Your thoughts?
Well, I do recall the president saying, all I need to do in order for oil prices to come back down is to, have a cease, open the straits, secure the straits, or pull out of Iran, or stop, our war with Iran. And he was exactly right. There's a pause, and everything is starting to go back to normal. Why is it that? Why do you think that Iran is so? That they think that it's so important for them to have a nuclear bomb?
That's a good question.
Why? Why is it so necessary for them to enrich uranium and to create a nuclear weapon?
Well, to use it. I mean, most people, America and the rest of the countries that have nuclear weapons, being Russia, China, America, India, whomever, we have it as a deterrent.
Right.
I don't see that with Iran. Nobody does. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at their neighbors.
There hasn't been a lot of, and correct me if I'm wrong, and you can actually educate me and the audience on this, if you know. But is there do these countries that currently have nuclear weapons, they're not continually making them all the time, or are they?
I don't believe so. No, I mean we upgrade
have what we
ours.
have.
We upgrade ours. We make improvements here and there, but the nuclear test ban treaty and these other treaties have been put in place. Some since before I was alive. Throughout my life, limiting the number of warheads you can have. Now, that is actually currently expired with Russia. Russia has more nuclear weapons than anybody else. Don't know if they would fly. Based on their experience in Ukraine, their weapons systems seem to be a little bit outdated and unpredictable. Junk is another word that comes to mind. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're up to Minuteman III missiles that are in places like South Dakota, Montana. We've driven by the silos. You've seen them. Sure. They're also based in ships, airplanes, but most importantly in the boomers, in submarines. That's the most critical platform for nuclear weapons. These submarines have 24 tubes. Each can carry a nuclear-tipped warhead missile, ICBM. Each missile can carry at least 10. That's 240 nuclear devices per submarine, and we have about 12 or 15 of those submarines. I was on one once, the USS Michigan, which has been reclassified as a non-nuclear submarine, but at the time that I was on it in 1997, it was a nuclear-class submarine in Bremerton Sound. That's in Seattle, Tacoma, SeaTac. So I've been on a nuclear submarine. I've been on to see what it looks like. It's a fascinating ship to be on. And by the way, for those of you keeping score at home, and Ivy, I've told you this story, but I'll tell others. When it all comes down to it, and the codes have been exchanged, and the double authentication has been done, and the captain and the executive officer agree that the code is legitimate, and we're going to do a launch, and they put the 2 keys in, and they open the box, and then all the drama is happening, and here you are, and it's time to launch missiles. The thing that actually launches the missile is nothing more than a plastic trigger like a Tyco slot car from 1978. And that was the most disturbing. It's disturbed me since 1997. It disturbs me to this day because they showed us the launch trigger.
Interesting.
It's like, the little pistol grip thing you would have to run slot cars in 1978.
Like,
So
you think that you handheld and
Yeah.
you just squeeze it?
They make the car go faster and slower. That little thing right there is what launches nuclear holocaust.
Wow.
So
we saw
there's your
something-
education.
We saw something over the weekend that actually President Reagan at the time misplaced the nuclear codes because the nuclear codes are kept with them at all time. Any
The football.
president. Well, but they have the authenticity codes with them on their person at all times. Is that what you understood? And then when he was shot and went into surgery, when they cut his clothing off, it got misplaced and all that. And then I think it was an FBI agent came in and recovered it.
I didn't realize that. I thought that it was always in the football. See, you educated me here today.
Yeah.
Because whenever you see the president, whoever the president is, you see there's 2 guys with him. There's one guy who's got this big satchel. It's got kind of a dome to it. That's the football. That's got all the, so they can
And they're always with the president.
Always.
Wherever they go.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. Always with him, always one step behind him, no matter where they go, there's the guy. Yeah, there he is. So the good news is, look, let's talk about the good news.
It's a little frightening, though, when you think about Biden as president, and a little scary. But anyways,
where is that? I had that code.
Where'd it go?
It was right here. Anybody seen my nuclear codes? Oh, good Lord. Anyhow, the good news out of all of this is we are in a ceasefire of some sort.
Right. And I
Ceasefires are fragile.
I think everyone can agree that you don't want a radical, group of people
Correct.
with a nuclear weapon. So I think that's, primarily what this is all about. I got a great bite from Marco Rubio yesterday. This is during the Obama administration, talking about we have to have a different plan for Iran, and you can see that as Secretary of State, he's implementing.
He has a different plan, but you go back, if Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer, Ro Khanna, Hakeem, they've all said the same
pallets of
thing.
cash being, dropped on their doorstep.
Right, well, they give them
by
piles of cash, but the fact that everybody knows Iran is a problem. Everybody's agreed on that until Donald Trump does something about it, and then of course, Donald Trump's the problem.
Exactly.
So it is. Ceasefire today. Ivy, love you.
Love you.
Ivy will be back later, of course, as she always is. More things to explore here on the program. Be sure to send us an email, whatever's on your mind, SteveGruber.com. SteveGruber.com. Send us an email. We'll catch up. We'll chat. We'll become besties. All right? Is that cool? I'll be right back. All right, so this is a topic that, I used to be opposed to. All right. But I have warmed to it, and now I'm thinking maybe it's the only solution we have, and that is term limits. All right, I used to be opposed. My opinion was elections were term limits. But when you see the re-election rates of United States senators are north of 90% because they have truckloads of money, you see all this dark money coming in from wherever it comes in to keep people elected and re-elected. Of course, that's probably true for newcomers as well. But Ron Eller is the Mississippi State Chair for the U.S. term limits, a former Army captain, Republican congressional candidate as well. Ron is a busy man. He joins me now. Ron, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. It's a pleasure to be on with you this morning.
All right, so everybody has a different opinion. I used to be opposed to term limits. It was not something I supported, but I have gradually changed my mind. The older Congress gets, and you've got a bunch of folks that haven't seen their own teeth in years because they're like 85, 90 years of age. We had the one woman from Texas here a couple of years ago, Republican. They couldn't figure out where she was. They found her in a home in Texas, in Houston. She had been missing for months. Her staff had covered for her. I think that's criminal. That's another discussion to have as well. But when you talk about term limits, Ron, give me your blueprint. What would you say for a member of Congress? What would you say for a United States Senator? What's your design?
The bill that is actually sitting at the House right now, Mike Johnson actually had signed a term limits pledge. States 2 terms for a senator, so that's 12 years, 3 terms for a congressman, total of 6 years.
So 6 years for a congressman, and how long for a senator?
That would be 12 years.
All right, so here's my question. Because the real concern to me, it's not just the person in the seat. It is the people, their staff members that play musical chairs, because if Congressman A doesn't win an election, they had just all shuffled down the hall to Congressman B and Congressman C. And all of these people, it's not the members of Congress that write the bills. They don't even read them. Let's be honest. They don't even read these things most of the time. It's read and written by staff and lawyers and everything else and churned out, and you end up with these 1,000-page bills. The original New Deal for Franklin Roosevelt was something like 22 pages. Something somebody could actually read and understand. The things that they push out now as bills are 1,000 pages of legalese and gobbledygook. That's something else that should be addressed, but maybe I digress. Anyhow, how do we get there, Ron?
Yes, sir. Well, I agree with you. We actually have a bill in mind I call the Clean Bill Act that says, hey, it has to be 100 pages or less. It has to be written in plain, simple English so that the man on the street can read and understand a bill, and there can be no pork attached to it. But, back to our subject at hand, term limits. How we get to term limits is, right now, we need to push for our Article 5 Convention of States movement. Mississippi recently had HCR 51 on the books to impose a state to be joined into that group. Arizona just passed this a couple of days ago and has now joined the states that are saying we want a term limits convention of states. And when we get to where there are, I'm going to just give you a ballpark figure. It takes 34 states to demand a term limits convention of states. But I believe if we can get to 25, 28 states, then the House will pick it up on their own, because they're not going to want we, the people, to decide, gee, this is how it's going to be.
Can we fix if you call here, my concern about that, okay, so you brought up 2 things that have concerned me in the past, but I'm growing more fond of. An Article 5 Convention of States, I was always leery of, because what would end up in the conversation, everything could be on the table. But I'm okay with that today because,
Correct.
Look, I do not believe the Supreme Court is going to rule properly when it comes to birthright citizenship. I think they're going to blow this deal. Not because it's their fault, but because the language is terrible, and they've got these different things they got to sort through. Nobody ever intended for illegal aliens to be able to come here and have a child, and they're in the country illegally, but their child is automatically an American. That was never the intention, and these guys are flipping the grave.
Chain migration.
Right, which gives you chain migration.
I
so
agree.
Article 5, Convention of States, you might need 34 states to call the convention, but you need 38 states to actually approve any amendment, correct?
That is correct. It takes 38 states to approve an amendment to be added to the Constitution.
Man, Ryan, you've been thinking a lot about what needs to be done around here. I like your list.
I do.
Yeah, I like your list because we need to clean this place up. So, should there be an age limit or just a term limit? I mean, I look at people. Look, I look at Chuck. I'll give you an example. Chuck Grassley is fine. I think he's 90. He's fine. He's sharp. He's doing his job. But some of these people that are 70, I don't know how they function in public. Right? I mean, is that fair?
Yeah. It is fair. I will tell you, my day job, I work as a PA in cardiac and thoracic surgery, healthcare. And I can tell you, I've seen patients that are 50 that can barely tie their shoe because of cognitive dysfunction, microvascular disease within the head. And I see people that, like you said, are in their 90s that are, still driving, going to church, going to the grocery store, writing their own checks, paying their bills. Maybe we don't need an age limit. Maybe we need a limit that says, or, an annual physical. Do you have the cognitive ability to do this job? I think most of us today would agree that our last president, Biden, did not have the cognitive ability to really manage the country, and is it age related, or was it, or is it just that he had cognitive delay? I don't know, but he definitely had it. I mean, you look when he did his stump speech in Toledo, Ohio, and in the last minute and 30 seconds with the UAW, he said, I'm a proud Democrat and I'm running for the U.S. Senate. Didn't even know what office he was running for.
Yeah, didn't even know where he was. All right, real quickly, tell them where they can find you, Ron. If you're running for office, real quickly, we got about 10 seconds. Where's your website?
Yes, sir. VoteRonEller.com. I'm easy to find.
Nicely done. Well done, Ron. You're very clever.
Thank you, sir.
Good conversation. What do you guys think about?
I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. All right, what do you guys think about term limits, a convention of states, things that I used to be leery of, but I have grown warmer to over the years for sure. Drop it in the comments or send me an email. I'll be back. All right, so Anthony sent me this article yesterday, day before, said you should look at this because there's this great movement across the planet, as you know, to get rid of cash. And they're going to sell it under the guise of it'll get rid of crime. It'll be really important. It'll get rid of crime because there won't be, nobody's going to be walking down the street with a purse full of cash, so you won't be able to do that. You won't be able to sell drugs on the street corner because they're not going to take, credit cards for your fentanyl or whatever, right? And so getting rid of cash is something that's been looked at for years by governments especially. And the biggest thing of all is they'll be able to tax everything you do. Every time you buy a stick of gum, they can attach themselves tax-wise. Well, Sweden is the article that Anthony sent me this. Riksbank supports the cash inquiry's proposal to introduce an obligation to accept cash in the sale of essential goods and strengthen bank responsibilities for handling cash. It is essential that people can continue to use cash to enable all members of society to make payments and for the resilience of the payment system. This is forward thinking in Sweden, and this is smart. What if the ATM goes down? What if there's no electricity? What if you don't have access to your credit card? How do you buy a loaf of bread? You have to take cash, right? I like this. Anthony sent this to me. He said, here's another side of the conversation. And speaking of banks, It's one thing for a bank to say they support our servicemen and women. It's another thing for the bank to step up and prove it. Old Glory Bank is proud to stand with our military and their families by offering Old Glory Protect. It's a $100,000 line of duty death benefit they offer free to their customers. It is a meaningful way they express gratitude for those who protect our nation. Learn more at oldglorybank.com/RAV. That's oldglorybank.com/RAV. I think these are great guys doing a great thing. No debanking around here. One more time, oldglorybank.com/RAV. And again, I ask you, what do you think about this cash deal? You can always send me an email. Me and Ivy, we take emails every day. SteveGruber.com. We accept your emails. We read every one of them. Try to respond to as many as we possibly can. If we don't respond, don't take it personally. We're doing the best we can. We're short-staffed and short bus riders and everything else. So there you go. We'll be back. I've got more to talk about. The invisible everywhere. AI, the invisible everywhere. After this. All right, so here's a journey, and I've seen a few of these recently, where you have a really smart person, right? Really smart person who's an atheist. All right, so they're an atheist. And then they go on this, they get drawn into a mission to prove that they're right and that people of faith are wrong. Doesn't seem to work out with them. or work out for them very well very often. There's a new motion picture called The Invisible Everywhere. It comes from the former ABC News science editor and Harvard physics teacher, Dr. Michael Guillen. He was at ABC News for a number of years, a science editor. The Invisible Everywhere links science, Christianity, AI-generated documentary on science and faith premieres April the 8th. Hey, isn't that today? Oh, what good news it is. Doctor, welcome to the program.
Hey, Steve, good morning. Look, I don't know how smart I'm going to look or sound. I've been up since 3 this morning to make sure this debut goes off smoothly. So far, so good, but I've been debugging right up until coming on the show. We went live. Yeah, we went live at 6 a.m. The theater doors are now open. So yeah, just go to theinvisibleeverywhere.com and it's all there. You can rent, you can buy, whatever. So yeah, but this is, I'm still on a high because I've spent this last 3 hours just debugging this thing to make sure it goes smoothly. It's a worldwide premiere, so wherever you are, whoever you are, you can be in Thailand, Hungary, the UK, Australia, South Africa. Just go there now and you can start watching the movie. So great to see you, Steve.
Good to see you again. InvisibleEverywhere.com. You guys, you wait till the segment's over, and then you can go. Then you can go look at the movie.
Right.
There you go. So tell us about your journey. All right, you were at ABC News for how many years?
14. 14 long and glorious years. I started out I was hired by Good Morning America. I was teaching at Harvard at the same time, so I was living this kind of double life, which ended up being really, really hard. But I was first hired by Good Morning America, and then about 2 years later, Nightline hired me with Ted Koppel. And then 2020 came to me and hired me to do 2020, and then Peter Jennings wanted me to do World News Tonight with him. So I did World News with him, and I did a bunch of specials with him. So yeah, at the same time I was teaching at Harvard. So it was a crazy, crazy life, but you know, I was young and crazy.
So
it was fun.
You were hitting,
I traveled all over the world.
You were hitting for the circuit. You're on all the big shows, you know, Ted Koppel and Peter Jennings and everything in between, Good Morning America, all that, right? So that's good.
Yeah.
All right, so you're an atheist.
Yeah.
Or at least you were,
yeah.
right? And we're going to go back in time here. You were an atheist. And you start this journey. Give us the foundation for this conversation, all right? Where did this start? Why did this start?
Yeah. It started in East LA where I was born. My dad was a journeyman carpenter. My mom was a stay-at-home mother, a traditional housewife. None of my family, except for my dad, had ever gone past high school. And so I was this oddball kid who, since the second grade, Stephen, I have clear memories of that. The second grade, I just fell madly head over heels in love with science. And it really became my God. It was like, I didn't even know how to describe to you, but I would just eat it, breathe it, live it. I mean, it was my everything. And I lived by the motto, seeing is believing, because I thought, hey, any decent would-be scientist, I'm this kid, right? But I'm thinking, seeing is believing. If I can't see it, I'm not going to believe it. And then I also live by the motto, prove it. If you can't prove it to me, I'm not going to believe it. And I had every confidence that science would answer all my questions. And I was a very curious kid, always asking questions. I still am a very curious person. Not a kid anymore, but still very curious. And it really wasn't until I got to Cornell, where as a grad student, where I earned my PhD in physics, math, and astronomy, where my bubble was burst on all three counts. I discovered how wrong I really was. And that started I would say my scientific and spiritual journey. So we can dive into that if you want, but that's it in a nutshell. That was my life.
Well, and I do want to dive into that, Doctor, because one of the quotes here, modern science does not eliminate God, it leads to him. You can, and just your background, you've got a PhD in astronomy, physics, mathematics from Cornell. I mean, you taught at Harvard as a physics professor. I mean, your background is unassailable. I mean, it's a spectacular resume, if I may be so bold as to tell you that. But you know that. It's just, that's why you got hired by all of these great programs, because your resume was bulletproof. And so now you say modern science doesn't eliminate God, it leads you there. What do you mean?
Well, it took me a long time to realize that. Probably I was in my early 40s when I first realized it. But yeah, when I got to grad school, I started learning, I really started learning deeply about the universe, our place in it. I asked questions like, how did the universe begin? How did life begin? And lo and behold, Stephen, this was kind of a slap in the face because science started offering me answers that just really weren't deep enough for me. So, for example, my professor in astronomy class said, you know what, guys? 95% of the universe, 95% of the observable universe, okay, is invisible to us. It's in the form of dark matter and dark energy. Well, there goes my first motto: seeing is believing. How can I live by that motto when I can't even see 95% of the observable universe? And then I learned that there's even an unobservable universe beyond the observable universe that's 100% invisible to me. So that was the first awakening. Then the whole prove it thing. I don't know if we have time to get into it now, but I discovered that actually the concept of proof is a very elusive one, and science cannot even prove any of its major theories, whether it's general relativity, special theory of relativity, the Big Bang theory, evolutionary theory. None of those theories can be proven. And Einstein, I think, said it best, and he had a lot of skin in the game, remember, Steve. He said, look, no amount of experimentation can ever prove me right, but a single experiment can prove me wrong. And so science is never settled. You'll often hear this silly thing. Oh, science is settled. No, science is never settled. It can never prove anything. At most, what it can say is, given the current evidence, our theories are consistent with that evidence. But the problem with that, Steve, is there are other theories that are also consistent with that evidence.
So hold on. Because
yeah.
we're gonna hit a break here. And we're gonna continue this conversation because I find it fascinating, and we've been able to clear the decks in front of you for a few more minutes. When during COVID, for example, this is the easiest example. Follow the science. Only the science does. That was all bunk. That was all garbage. A lot of it, wasn't it? I mean, people say follow the science. Science is ever changing, and you made a great point there. Can never prove you right, but can prove you wrong, right?
Yeah, the whole COVID thing. I mean, we could do 10 segments on that. Yeah. That was an absolute disaster. And, you know.
But that's an easy example for me. So we're going to go to break here. Dr. Michael Guillen, former ABC News Science editor on all the big programs, Nightline and Good Morning America with Peter Jennings and Ted Koppel and all those people. And then realized that everything that he had stood for scientifically was kind of turned on its head when he realized science doesn't disprove God. It leads you right to the doorstep and says, here it is. More with Dr. Michael Guillen after this on The Steve Gruber Show. All right, so here's another interesting thing, and Dr. Michael Guillen and I talked about this the last time he was on, and I think this is fascinating. You were able to, I think this is the first time this has ever been done. You were able to create a movie using AI exclusively, right? From the ground up, you did AI. So what would have cost millions of dollars in special effects and in the pursuit of faith and understanding the life of Christ and all these different things? I mean, you know, these are expensive undertakings, but you did it using AI. It looks terrific. It's a remarkable achievement in and of itself, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, I don't know if I'm crazy or I didn't set out to do it that way, Steve. I made another movie before, Little Red Wagon. It's distributed by Lionsgate. Everything was done the traditional way, theaters, then Netflix and Walmart. This time around, I just did it differently. In this very room that I'm talking to you from, there's a computer on my left, and I made the entire movie on this desktop computer on my left using consumer level AI video generators. And I'm told by all my friends in Hollywood and even all the chat box are telling me, yeah, Guillen, you're the first one who make a movie by yourself using your desktop computer and using AI tools. First time ever in history that a full-length motion picture has been made that way. And you know what? It is stunning visually. It's if I say so myself, and I've seen the movie like 100 times, Steve, but I never failed to be moved by it. And I want to say, I don't preach in this movie. This is just about my journey from atheism and how science, my beautiful, beloved science, shattered my atheism and pointed like a big giant finger to the existence of God. It's just a really amazing journey, and whether you're a believer or not, it doesn't matter. You're going to be confronted with the latest science, and what the latest science says about questions like, where did the universe come from? Where did life come from? Are humans just any other animal, or is there something special about us? What is human consciousness? Is there life after death? On and on and on and on. And it's a magnificent achievement. And we just opened the theater doors this morning.
And that is an achievement. So did you have anybody else working with you on it? Because here's what I was going to ask you. What took longer? Your realization of, wait a second, science just shattered my whole atheist worldview, and now I have to pursue this. Did that take longer, or creating the film itself to go from this point to this point?
No, the film, I started the film late last February, Steve, and back then, and it was like, it's only a year ago, but it's like ages ago in terms of the technology. There was really only one AI generator. It was called Runway. But then a bunch of others, as I was making this movie, all these new video generators came online. And so I ended up about 24 different video generators, AI editors. But yeah, it was just me. My wife, on the other hand, who's in the office next door, would sneak into my room because I was working 12-hour days, and she said, eat, you're not eating. And I told her, I said, I think I'm reverting back to my scientific monk days, because when I was at Cornell, I was in my lab like 21 hours a day, Steve. I was just an absolute scientific monk. God was my science. It's been an incredible journey, both from atheism to believing in God, and also making this movie to the point now where I'm talking to you this morning.
And what a remarkable time to release this film, right in the shadow of Easter Sunday and in the life of Christ. So we got about a couple of minutes here. Just give me a couple of those moments when you said, wait a second, I've been wrong about being an atheist. Just give me a couple of those, those light bulb moments where you went, hold on, let's look at this here. Give just a couple for the folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the legs of the journey in the movie is about, where did life start? And I present the three most popular theories from science about how life might have started by accident. And I bought into them. I won't get into them now. We don't have time. But then it was there was a discovery made, and it started in the 1970s. And I explain this in the movie, where think of the vital signs you have yourself. When you go to the doctor for a medical exam, they'll check your blood pressure, your pulse rate, et cetera, et cetera. Those are called vital signs, and they tell you your state of health, right? Well, the same thing goes for the universe, Steve. The universe turns out to have vital signs, dozens of them. And what we discovered starting in the 1970s is that when we look at the numerical values of those vital signs of the universe, and I give 3 of them in the movie, but when you look at every single one of them, and there are dozens of them, guess what? Every single one of them has exactly the numerical value it has to have in order for the universe to be able to accommodate life. And so this, for me, was a huge eye opener because I bought into the accidental life theories, but then I'm like, no, how can it be an accident that the universe is literally tailor made for life in dozens of different ways? If any one of them were off, you and I wouldn't be here. You and I wouldn't have this conversation. So that was a big turnaround for me. There was also another one when my mom died of breast cancer. She was only 51, and I almost lost my life down. I became the first correspondent to report from the Titanic. Almost lost my life down there, and that's in the movie. ABC News allowed me to use segments from that in the movie. And so I became preoccupied with this question: is there life after death? And the short answer is, because I know we're running out of time, and I explain this in the movie, the short answer is absolutely now. Modern science confirms, listen to this, modern science confirms there is life after death. We call it the persistence of consciousness.
We're
So
going
I
to leave
deal
it
with
right
that and
there.
all that more.
I'm going to
Yeah.
leave that cliffhanger right there. You are so compelling. You know, I want to just scrap the rest of the program here today and just go watch this. I'm going to watch this today, Doctor. Remarkable. You can find invisibleeverywhere.com. The doors are open to this groundbreaking AI-generated documentary from atheist to faith. Dr. Michael Guillen, always an honor. Thank you for being here.
My honor. Thank you, Steve. And it's theinvisibleeverywhere.com. Thank you so much, brother.
The Invisible Everywhere. Put a the in front of it, folks. Theinvisibleeverywhere.com. What a remarkable testimony. Science. We'll be back. All right, let's check in on sports real quick with our good friend Brock Palmbush. Brock?
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. A full schedule in Major League Baseball yesterday. American League winners included Boston, Cleveland, and Texas. National League winners included Atlanta, St. Louis, and San Francisco. A busy night in the NBA as well. There were 10 games last night. Winners included Toronto, Brooklyn, Oklahoma City, and Golden State. A busy night in the NHL. There were 11 games played. Winners included Montreal, Columbus, Colorado, and Vegas. Mike Malone was officially introduced as the new head coach of North Carolina men's basketball yesterday. He'll reportedly get a 6-year deal worth $50 million to coach the Tar Heels. The longtime NBA coach led the Denver Nuggets to the 2023 NBA championship, but this is his first head coaching job in college. And golf's first major of the year, the Masters, begins tomorrow at Augusta National in Georgia, but today is the annual Par 3 contest. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock. Excuse me. Thank you for that. For those of you looking for the appearance of the cat, no cat appearances today, thankfully. All right, so there you go. You got people saying, "Where's the cat?" Look, the cat is the mascot of the studio, but you know what? Sometimes that cat just needs to go relax. Right? Just saying. We do have a ceasefire in place. If you missed the special coverage on Real America's Voice last night, a 2-week ceasefire in place while the United States and Iran negotiate going forward. We'll see where that ends up. No talk yet on the nuclear material, so that will be a problem. Meanwhile, many of you have struggled to lose weight. You lose it again, then you gain it back. What if I told you it's not your fault? It's not point shakes or living at the gym. If it was willpower, you'd have done that already. What if I told you it's your metabolism? It's not broken, it's just turned off. You can get a free consultation with my friends at My Pure Health. GruberHealth.com. GruberHealth.com. See if it's a good fit. A natural, all-natural approach. No chemicals, no eating, chipped drywall bars, none of that nonsense. No, sir. GruberHealth.com. Check it out. You'll be glad you did. I did it in 2018. I lost 47 pounds. How do I look? Not bad.
Like you could use another scan, maybe.
Easy.
All right.
You're troublemakers. Anyhow, appreciate you all being here as always. We're going to continue on. For those of you on Real America's Voice, Sunrise is next. For those of you on streaming and radio, another hour of the Steve Gruber Show is on tap for you. Something for everybody. Look, I'm a giver. All right? I am a giver. That's it. We'll be right back.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, and welcome to as we jump back into another big hour here of the program. Thank you for stopping in. We're fighting for you every single day from the foxhole of freedom, defending this great country of ours. Three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, now whip crack. There you go. He got a little excited on the trigger there. It happens. A record year. The Mackinac Bridge was shut down 12 times for ice this year. Apparently that's a record. Number two, just to make Anthony and the rest of the people happy, we talked about this yesterday, Consumers Energy filing for a new rate hike as soon as June 2nd because we don't pay enough for electric and natural gas. And number three, I want to look at this up close. The price of oil plummeting down $20 or more since yesterday. Oil got to about $115 yesterday during the trading day. Since the trading day began today, it's down $19.65. It's all the way down to $93.30. If this persists, it's going to be below $90 a barrel. All on the reaction to a 2-week ceasefire announced by President Trump yesterday with Iran. Iran came out with a 10-point plan. America has a 15-point plan. He said it's a place we can start a conversation. Noticeably absent from the Iranian plan is anything referring to nuclear material or nuclear weapons. We'll have to get there. That is not up for discussion. They're not going to get nuclear weapons. We're not going to allow for it. It's just not going to happen. They understand that. For Iran, look at the bright side here. Donald Trump did not destroy their oil fields. He did not destroy Karg Island, the crown jewel of their oil production. In fact, India is set to import Iranian oil for the first time in 7 years this week, which means it's all moving forward. But so here we are. In fact, it just fell a little bit farther. It's down to $93.27. But on the other side of that, the oil companies are jacking up the price of gasoline, right? Okay, so fuel prices, the national average up again yesterday, 2.5 cents. Makes no sense at all. From a week ago, it's 10 cents higher. From a month ago, it's 55, 65, 71 cents higher than it was a month ago, and well over what it was a year ago. Now, the record price for unleaded, $5.01, right? Diesel today is getting close to its all-time high, which was set on June 19th, 2022. Diesel, the national average at $5.66. The all-time record high, $5.81. We're 15 cents away from diesel setting its all-time record high. Again, makes no sense because during COVID, oil was higher. During Joe Biden's time in office, oil was $140 a barrel. We've got nowhere even near that. So how would diesel get that expensive? You tell me, and I will tell you that there is profit-taking going on, right? There's profit-taking going on, no question about it, and you can just look at these markets. Meanwhile, the market, the futures market, looking good, up. It was 1,200 points up when I looked here just a short time ago. So let me just grab that for you because I think this is interesting. It's just a reflection of our economy is in very good shape. 1,300 points is the market open for the Dow. We'll put it well back up over 48,000. And so here's what I'm getting at. If the situation in Iran is solved long term, there's no question that the American economy is poised to take off in a robust way that will lower the price of goods and services, that will increase good-paying jobs, that will open up opportunities, that will mean manufacturing is happening in America. So the sooner this thing comes to a conclusion in Iran, the faster the American economy can go on a rocket ship ride, for real. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's see here. Let's go to, I always find this entertaining. Let's go to bite number 2, Anthony. Bill Maher always wanted to shoot down the idiocy put forth on the left just for sport. I enjoy it. Listen.
If we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath insist there be no debate about any of it. That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5. Isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add. You can't just say shit. Math is racist. Queers for Palestine. Looting is cool. Healthy at any weight. If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie. You can't just say shit.
I enjoy that. I know you've heard it before, but I do so enjoy that. By the way, before I guess I leave Iran altogether, I did want to play this. We're going to go to bite number 8 here. Ro Khanna sometimes sounds sane, and then there's the rest of the time. He's one of the leading Democrats in the House. Here's his plan for Iran. Basically, just surrender. United States surrender to Iran and all problems are solved. You think I'm kidding? Listen to his list of things to do. Here it is.
We need to end the war, and we can do it with 3 things. We need an immediate ceasefire, stop the bombing. We need to make sure that we give Iran an ironclad guarantee that Israel or we will not attack again and involve China and Russia in that. And then we need to look at some of the sanctions and have a diplomatic solution.
Where does the Strait of Hormuz fall into that, on that item list?
Well, that's the only way, in my view, that we get the Strait of Hormuz open. If we don't give Iran a guarantee that they're going to be safe, they're going to think, well, Israel's saying they want to mow the lawn.
Is it acceptable to you if Iran remains in control of the Strait of Hormuz?
No. But right now, look, gas was $2.30 before the war. Gas has gone up to $4. So it's obviously not working, the war. The only way we're going to get out of this is to have some kind of diplomatic solution. And that would require us to stop the bombing.
If the war was about gas prices, you'd be right. It's not working. The war was not about gas prices, about nuclear annihilation of countries in the Middle East, and maybe in Europe, and maybe the United States. That's what the war was about, but he doesn't understand it. So he wants a ceasefire. He wants a rock-solid guarantee that Iran will never be attacked ever again, ever for any reason, and he wants to make sure Russia and China sign on that deal, too, to put America in a corner. I mean, this is just abject foolishness. Anyhow, that's not going to happen, Ro. You and your demented friends are not going to be put in charge of that deal. I mean, even if you don't like Donald Trump's plan, it's better than the alternative, which is abject stupidity. All right, I'll take a break and be back with Ron Rademacher. He's brilliant after this. All right, so here's the deal. Next week, I'm not doing this segment. I just made an executive decision. I'll get Ron Rademacher to weigh in on this executive decision. It's epic, Ron. It's epic. All right. Ivy's going to do this segment next week.
Oh man,
I know.
I'm on the road next week. That means if I want to be on video with me, I have to haul all this equipment with me.
Oh, we can wait 2 weeks.
Well, is she going to do it 2 weeks from now as well?
Well, Ivy's doing such a great job, and I need more, beauty time, rest time for this, beauty that I have. That
yeah, I didn't want to bring that. I wouldn't.
Well, I understand it's a tremendous amount of work to maintain this level of, whatever this is. It takes a lot of effort. Yeah. So I figured if Ivy steps in from time to time and entertains you, then, I can work on this, whatever this is. Right. All right, Rod.
Take a couple of weeks there, Steve. Don't rush.
Take a month.
Yeah,
all right,
take a month. What the heck?
All right. Anyhow.
I'll give you something to think about before I do these shout outs. You were talking about the price of oil and the price of gasoline. I'm going to get into it in depth, but there's word out there based on the futures options markets that we'll have an oil spike price in May, regardless of what happens. And then you could see crude at $50 a barrel 6 months from now. That's where the bets are.
At $50 a barrel, let's see, May, June, July, August, September. That would line up about right. If crude was $50 a barrel in September, that would mean gas at what, $2 a gallon or less?
Well, the way things are working right now, no, gas would probably be $3.85 a gallon because they're gaming.
Because they're cheating.
I'm making your point. It does not make sense. We may be not importing a lot, but the gas station is operating on a different thing than the crude oil market because the gas station is buying gas today to sell tomorrow. And so they're getting it priced from somebody who's pricing it for what they're going to be getting it for in 2 months. So it's
they're charging you today for what they pay tomorrow. So even if for example, if they've got gas in the ground, yes, they paid $1 for it, and then there's some great calamity, and they know that tomorrow they're going to have to pay $2, and they price it up to $2, even though the gas that they've got in the tank was $1, means they make wild profits on what's in the ground already, right? True.
Based purely on whether or not Trump is going to make a speech or not. That's all it is. 2 days ago, correct, I paid $3.62, and yesterday I went by exactly the same gas station, and it was almost $4.
Well, Anthony said it went up 40 cents here day over day. But here it is. Oil is now plummeted down to $92.80. It continues to fall all day long. If it continues at this trajectory, we will be below $90 a barrel in a couple of hours.
Wouldn't be surprised to see it happen.
Yeah, but we'll still be paying $14 a gallon for gas because that's the way it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyhow, what do you got out there besides all that angst?
Besides all that, well, I got a shout out. A couple of listeners contacted me via email wanting to know about some trails. Guys, I will get back to you today, each of you, doing a little research on the Burial Mound Trail where the Indian mounds are, and then a couple of long hikes. So I'm going to get that done. And then we've got all kinds of stuff going on out there, Steve. The farms are opening up. And if you want to get out with the kids, I don't know if you've ever been over to this Critter Barn in Zeeland, but they're having their spring fling. That's going on this coming weekend. That's a great time when they let all the critters out. And keep in mind, we'll be announcing, I believe it's April 25th, is when the alligator sanctuary has their release. So if you want to go down and help let the gators out, they do take volunteers for that. I know you don't want to.
I don't mind that. I had a critter release here just yesterday on the farm. It's what happens when you go to your garage and you got the big multi-drawer, tool chest, and you open up a miscellaneous drawer and you go, really, mouse nest? And then they peek their face and, hey. So I had to go get the gloves and I had to relocate The mice. I had to relocate the mice. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't relocate the miscellaneous. You moved the mice. All right.
Yeah.
I like that. The miscellaneous.
Mom and the 3 kids got their eviction notice. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it is. Yes,
all right. So we got other stuff going on. The World Tour continues. I'll be in Roscommon April 16th. I'll also be in Gaylord this weekend for the big wholesale show. That's going on. Meyer Gardens butterflies are blooming April 18th and April 19th. And in Holland, at the Holland Museum, they're having their backyard birding event. So there's all kinds of spring stuff going on. Anthony, for you, the modded Detroit is coming. Over 2,000 vehicles will be there. They're modding cars. One of the biggest events, 20 acres. One of the biggest events of the year is coming up this weekend. So get down there and see if you can get yourself a car so you can take it up there to Snowdrift next year.
Yeah. I see there's a steelhead fishing clinic in Cadillac, and I only mention that because I think it's entirely possible that if we play our cards right, Ivy and I might be steelhead fishing on Saturday. We'll have a full report to start the week next week.
Oh, where are you going to go, if you don't mind me asking?
I think we're going toward Newaygo in that general direction.
Oh, yeah. I wonder which river that could be.
Cannot figure it out. Might be the Muskegon. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it should be good. It should be good. Yeah, I know the steelhead are running. The guys are out.
Ivy did point out to me here recently, we've never fished the Au Sable. I said, that's true. We go all over the world. We've never actually fished the Au Sable, world famous trout stream. She reprimanded me with a wag of the finger and says, we'll change that this year. I said, yes, ma'am.
That is something that you should get done because it is fabulous. When back in my youth, I canoed that river from Grayling to Lake Huron.
Yeah. Did they have boats at that time? I mean, in your youth.
Well, actually, no. Actually, you had to tie a log to your shoulders and kind of bob along. Had a cane pole with a cork, for
MichiganBackroads.com. 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 Ron Rademacher, everybody, with his new book. Go check it out. MichiganBackroads.com.
Up north. Up north, right. Baby.
Up north. I'll be right back. Like it's brand new out of the factory because I wasn't paying that. So where am I here? I'm looking at this and I'm trying to figure out. James Carville says that his party is so far gone that if they don't get their act together, they're not going to win any elections. He says people don't like the Democrats because they're losers. That's what he said. He said, we lose. You just keep losing and people don't want to vote for losers. That's what he said. Maybe I said a little bit there. Losers is what they are. And he said that that's their real problem, is they continue to lose elections because they lose. So they have this losing streak. John Fetterman also hammering on these folks. Let's go to bite 3, because they side with hateful racists, and then they become losers. Listen.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, my God, you have many of my parties. They're proud to do events with like that Hassan Piker. This is the individual that just recently said that America deserved 9/11, and that they said that Hamas is 1,000% better than Israel. and he doesn't care about the rapes and cause Jews inbred and say these outlandish things. And then like people like the New York Times give these glowing kinds of profile. They don't mention any of that. I mean, he's become such a raging anti-Semite. You know, even the guy that has a Nazi tattoo bailed on doing an event with him. I mean, now Democrats have to decide, whose side are you in? Are you proud to stand with that kinds of an individual, or stand with Israel?
Well, apparently here in Michigan, Abdul El Sayed, the Senate candidate, wants to stand with Hassan Piker. Just spent a whole day campaigning with Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker is also the go-to for others in the Democrat Party running for office. And you just heard Fetterman say, this guy is an open racist, a piece of garbage. And that's being kind. Anyhow, you can find that story about Abdul Al Sayed, MichiganNewsSource.com, campaigning with an open racist. Don't think that's going to propel his campaign anywhere but into the bin of history. I'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, getting back to it now. Glad you're along for the conversation on this Wednesday, halfway through the week. And, you know, another busy week. The good news is that the price of oil is coming down and the price of gasoline should soon follow. because of the ceasefire announced yesterday by the president. 2 weeks. We'll see where we get from there. Joining me now, State Representative Joe Aragona from Macomb Township, District 60 here in Michigan. Joe, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Steve. Good to be back.
All right. So the Republicans support the Department of Justice voter roll lawsuit. I am confused by this because I am quite sure that I remember. I'm old enough to remember that we voted in a deal to clean up the voter rolls in Michigan and that it's part of the state constitution. It was voted by the people. Am I wrong about that?
Well, yeah, there was a ballot initiative that did have things to do with that, but you know how people can shift things around, especially Jocelyn Benson is kind of running.
But it's part of the Constitution. It's required not only by federal law but by the state constitution that we maintain good and accurate voter rolls. Is that not correct?
Well, we're supposed to, but that's not actually what's happening. We know that there was a Chinese national who voted in our last election, and we know that wasn't an isolated incident. We know that there was others. So the Trump Justice Department has said, all right, we want to just take a look at the voter rolls. We want to ensure that everything's going to be copacetic and hunky-dory in Michigan at the next election. And Jocelyn Benson has said no. Even though she shared those data files with businesses when it behooves her, but she won't share it with our own Justice Department in D.C.
So let me just try to understand this again. The federal government requires that we clean up our voter rolls. The state constitution, the voters of Michigan said keep clean voter rolls by constitution, and Jocelyn Benson just says I'm not going to do it. And there's no penalty, there's no recourse. We have to go to civil lawsuits to accomplish anything. Is that really where we are?
Right. We know that she's failed to do that in the last election. There's even a judge who said that she was manipulating the ballot at one point. So we know it's not being done. We know it wasn't done in the last election. We want to ensure that it's being done in this upcoming election. The Trump Justice Department has said, look, we just want to double check. We want to make sure that things are being run properly because we know that there's crimes committed in the past. We want to ensure that there aren't any moving forward. And so they've had to take Jocelyn Benson to court in order to try and get these voter rolls. And so Michigan House Republicans in the state legislature have filed an amicus brief. We're joining the Trump Justice Department to try and throw our weight behind that as well. To ensure that we do get what we need to ensure that there's a free and fair election.
And let's be honest about this, Joe. I don't mean to dismiss what you're doing. I think it's important. But so what? It will never be resolved before the election. These things will drag on. There'll be appeals, and lawyers will make money because they always do.
Well, lawyers do always make money.
And look, nothing will be resolved unless I'm wrong. And maybe I am.
I hope you are. I hope you are, because I'm not one to give up. We're gonna keep fighting. We're gonna fight to ensure that we try and get these voter rolls, like you said, prior to this upcoming election. It's us. It's the Trump Justice Department. We're going against Jocelyn Benson. Hopefully we can get this resolved in a court system well before these ballots ever go out.
Yeah, you're an optimist, Joe. I'll give you that.
Well, thanks, Steve. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Look, they play all the games and they make appeals and they file briefs and they make motions and blah blah blah. Next thing you know, it's 2036 and it's still not been resolved 10 years later. Hopefully, it is. I don't know how much more. Here's the problem, for example.
That's why we also need a better Secretary of State after this next election.
Well, that's true, but here's the problem. Our Secretary of State mailed out tens of thousands of ballot requests, applications, right, back in 2020. That was not legal, right? Yeah. It was not legal. Yeah. No penalty for violence. There's no penalty. What the hell's the point of having a law on the books if there's no penalty for violating it?
Well,
which I am sure that her and Dana Nessel had that conversation. They discussed the fact, well, you're not allowed to do this, but there's no penalty, so go ahead and do it. I 100% believe that probably happened.
Right.
Anyhow,
like I just said, that's why we also need a different attorney general after next election.
Well, yeah. Well, how are you going to get there if your elections aren't fair?
Well, that's why people got to turn out. That's why, like what happened in 2024, we got to overwhelm anything that might be nefarious that's going on in the election, right? I mean, that's what Donald Trump said. You gotta get out in such mass that if there's any type of fraud, we're gonna overcome it with just the sheer numbers that we bring out for people who want free, fair elections. You want to make America. You want that type of stuff. Exactly. Too big to rig.
You got it. All right, Joe. Anything else I need to be aware of that you're working on in Lansing right now that people need to be up to speed on?
We're right now we're fighting waste, fraud, and abuse, and as I appreciate you having me on the show to talk about this, because Michigan House Republicans feel that this is very important. We wanted to join the Trump Justice Department just to ensure that we do have a free and fair election, that no funny business is going to go on. And it seems like a pretty easy thing to do. Like, why not just share the voter data with the Justice Department? Like that's what they're there for, to ensure that, to either prosecute crimes or to try and prevent further crimes. It's a very simple concept. But to just say no to the Justice Department is just baffling to us, and that's why we joined in this brief in this lawsuit in federal court.
But make no mistake, it's Republicans who think they're above the law. Just keep that in mind as you're keeping.
Right. Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah,
it's the Republicans, Joe.
Right.
Always appreciate you being here, Joe Aragona. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. Yeah, it's the Republicans who think they're above the law. Are they the ones snubbing the Constitution? No, it's not. Anyhow, let's see here. Let's see this. I used to think a mattress was just furniture until I got my ghost bed. Honestly, the first night I slept on it, I woke up thinking, wow, this is what it's supposed to be. In fact, I got this ring. I got a 90. I got a crown again last night for good sleep. Ghost Bed doesn't build mattresses like furniture. They build engineered sleep systems. Their beds are serious health equipment designed for relief and recovery, not looks and fluff. Your body should be healing when you're sleeping. That's really the point, not fighting for comfort. I noticed the difference right away. I found it to be very comfortable. And if you're waking up stiff, tossing and turning all night, you're sleeping hot, or if you're taking pain meds before you go to bed, that's probably a sign that things aren't very good. That's not aging. That could be your mattress saying, look, dude, replace me. Here's another thing I love about Ghost Bed. You get 101 nights to try it at home. If you don't feel the difference, you can send it back risk-free. Ghost Bed, offering my audience, offering you the lowest price of the season plus an extra 10% off. Go to ghostbed.com/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. Ghostbed.com/Gruber. All right, check that out. You'll be glad you did. Looks like Ivy is on her way back in the room, and that's always important. See what she's got. I know one of the stories she's got. It's creepy, actually. Minneapolis trying to figure out how they can make that city even worse to live in. Yeah. They're remarkable in their accomplishments. It is a Steve Gruber Show, back after this. All right, welcome back to it here. All right, so microplastics. A lot of people jumping into the comments section because we were talking about microplastics with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. earlier. Ivy's back with us now. Ivy, welcome. Back in microplastics, health, that's kind of your side of the street. So, I mean, it's something we've talked about. They put microplastic in things like the detergent you put in your dishwasher, your toothpaste, men's underwear, maybe women's underwear.
Well, even like you think about the tablet, like the Tide Pod or the,
sure,
when you put your detergent for your dishwasher, that's all plastic.
Right, it's a plastic thing that dissolves, so microplastic, right. Anyhow, a lot of response here today about that, so we're going to continue to dig into microplastics. Glyphosate, of course, they hate Roundup because it's in everything, and Roundup has had a lot of connection to health issues. Right. I don't know. I mean, I guess my question to you, Ivy, because you read a lot about this, can you really protect yourself against all this stuff?
Well, I think that it kind of becomes really overwhelming, right? Because what do I put in my mouth? What do I eat? What do I drink? What do I put on my body?
Right, lotions.
Lotions. What do I wear? What do I sleep in? What kind of sheets should I be? I think it's really overwhelming for people.
It is.
And then people are they throw their hands up and say, I don't know what to do.
Well, and one of the things is sunscreen, we hear a lot of studies now saying that sunscreen is actually more detrimental to your skin than
well, it's a certain chemical compounds that they put in them that make it bad for your skin. So it's eliminating, the carcinogenic ones, for instance. And right. I don't recall the specific ones offhand. Now I read about them, but I can't regurgitate them. I wasn't prepared to do that. But what I would say though is, just common sense things. I think most importantly, what we need to be worried about is what we're putting in our mouths.
What we eat.
And what we eat and what we drink. Okay. Let's start with that first. If we can eat clean, eat real food. I love that campaign that, that RFK is doing right now. Wherever you can get it from, eat fruits and vegetables, eat animal products. I know for those of you who are vegetarian and vegan, it's very difficult to get a full amino acid chain, meaning what your body needs, what your cells need to create energy.
Yeah.
So you got to do a lot of research and make sure that you can complete that compound.
If you're a vegan or vegetarian, I just feel sorry for you.
It's tough. It's tough. Yeah. Now, I will say I did 33 days. I did a yoga program.
Yeah, when you were 25.
33 days of eating only raw foods.
Yeah.
So not cooked foods and it was vegan. And I felt great.
Here's what I know.
But animal products are not evil.
Yeah, they're not.
They're good for you.
Yeah. I have a cardiologist. I don't need one, but Ivy suggested strongly that
Everyone
I have one.
needs a cardiologist, Steve.
Who's a vegan, who suggested in our first meetings, Steve, what we should talk about being a vegan? I said, Doc, we can talk about a lot of things.
Right.
That's not one of them.
Right.
And what did he just have?
He had heart surgery.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the vegan cardiologist who suggested I should have heart surgery or should not eat meat so I won't have heart surgery, just had heart surgery himself. Right. And I'm just going to say that's my 3-point shot for the day. I love him. I do. And I'm just giving him a hard time. There are a lot of factors when it comes to heart surgery and so forth.
For sure. Well, and also let's go back to, excuse me, what we're putting in our mouth. So reducing sugar. Sugar is poison. Okay. Added sugar, when you buy things and you see added sugar on the label, and become good label readers too. That is the worst kind of sugar. Excuse me. So there's, if you're eating fruit, that's going to have natural sugars. Milk's going to have natural sugars. Those are okay, but you don't want to eat, want to have a lot of that stuff. Lots of vegetables, lots of meat. That's good to go. So processed foods, stay away from those.
As much as you can.
Yeah, and eliminate sugar as much as you possibly can, because sugar does create disease. It creates a tremendous amount of inflammation in the body, and that causes problems over time, causes metabolic syndrome, which then creates havoc in your body.
Right.
So, just let's start with that. Be conscientious of what you're eating and drinking.
Well, and we're going to be better this year. And a little insight here. Okay, so we have our chicken ranch here. We've got a couple dozen birds. Run mostly by our daughter, but we partake and we get fresh eggs. If people said, "What is the one thing you can't give up?" Eggs.
Yeah.
I eat them every day, and I think it's a perfect. Remember they told you back, don't eat eggs. Eggs are bad for you. Eggs are great for you. Number one.
Well, they said they had a lot of cholesterol, but cholesterol is not a nutrient of concern.
And so what? Right? It makes my brain work.
Yeah, high triglycerides are what's the problem, and that's
but if we
generally
go back,
caused by too much sugar.
Yeah, if we go back to, I don't know, 12, 14 years ago when you and I were first together, I guess, we were growing potatoes and onions and peppers and different things. And we had a couple of times, because we hunt, folks, we do, we put meat on a table. We shop at God's grocery store for protein. And there were times when the plate, except for the salt and pepper, were from our hands, either taking a white-tailed deer or growing the onion or growing the potato. I want to get back to that. I think there's a satisfaction in that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. There was one guy that I read recently that said, when we came into this industrialized farming is when society started going down in terms of their health, because now, everything is available for you in a grocery store and you don't have to do a tremendous amount of work to get food.
Well, there's truth to that.
And then therefore we live very sedentary lives. And because sedentary lifestyle is one of the worst killers.
Well, yeah, couch is the new cigarette. But one more thing about that.
Now that's debatable whether you agree with that statement or not.
No, I understand, but I've heard it said.
Yeah.
That sitting on the couch is as dangerous as smoking cigarettes. You can debate that however you want. But here's what's not debatable, and this goes back 10 years ago. You and I were in a grocery store reading labels, and I picked up a package of bacon, and it said added sugar. I don't need sugar in my meat products.
Right.
I mean, that's a problem, right?
Right.
That's a
so
problem.
True, Steve.
Anyhow, Ivy is usually the food cop around here, but she's turned me into a deputy. I'm deputy food cop in this house.
I deputized you, Steve.
You did. Anyhow, love you, Ivy.
Love you.
Let's get back to doing things right. The basics, blocking and tackling, eating, faith, family, friends, all of it, right? And God and country. How about that one? I'll take a break and be right back. I'm just looking at some of the emails from today, and look, I love taking emails from you, and on Fridays, of course, we take phone calls on Free for All Friday. Dale writes this: term limits, stay as long as you can win elections without cheating. If Tom Brady were a politician, you wouldn't want him to ever quit. Clean up the cheating and dirty money. Reduce the cost of advertising for political season. Make all of them take a drug test. Make all of them take an extensive test covering all subjects, especially for the presidency. Bill Clinton lost the nuclear codes more than once. Look up Sierra Army Depot, 980th Military Police, 1990. Very serious business. That's why Iran cannot have one. All right, so that's an interesting email there. I like that. From Jerry comes this. I like this one. All right, Jerry writes, shout out to the whole Gruber crew. Great job done every day. Nice seeing Ivy on a regular basis, too. I am a busy, concerned mom trying to find healthy meals for my family. With all the corrupt AI out here now, my question is for my hero, Ivy. Would you be interested in providing a weekly or monthly commentary on how you got started with getting your family on healthy habits? Huh, that's pretty interesting. Thanks for all you do, Grubers, Steve, Ivy, and crew. Anthony, you got your shout out there. I don't want you to feel left out.
Yes.
And crew, love you all. Thank you, Jerry, for that.
Love you too, Jerry.
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, I know Anthony can be sensitive, but she did include you, so there is that. That's important. Let's see here. We're just looking at, I find it interesting because folks write emails. Sometimes they're you know. Anyhow. Judy says she feels like she's eavesdropping in our living room when Ivy's here. Well, that's all right. Anyhow, so there's that. Well, we appreciate all the support. It's a work in progress, this program, as we grow every single day, trying to find the elements that work. It's a change. We're making changes. Ivy's in here more. The program is going to have some big changes in the next few days. Just an overhaul, a cleanup, a rebranding. You're going to love it. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. And remember, only you can save America.